What's up everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking all about the Garmin 55. This is one of those watches where if you're on a budget or maybe if you're buying your first GPS watch, this is definitely one that you need to consider. For stopping by. I do want to let you know that I paid for this watch with my own money. It was not sent to me for review. So with that out of the way, let's talk about my experience with this watch, some of the things that I like and some of the things that I didn't like or maybe should be added in the future. I've been using the Garmin 55 off and on for about a month now, and I do have to say I'm really impressed with the features that it has and also the performance. As I mentioned, this is one of Garmin's less expensive options and a really good one to start with if you've never had a GPS watch before. I've been able to test out this watch, a lot of its features. I've been using it as my daily running watch, and I've also been able to kind of test it against some other watches in its price range, but then also like the big boys, like the ones that are 4 or 5 times as expensive. And this review is going to be mainly geared towards runners because that's what I am. I used to be a triathlete. I don't really do that anymore. I run on the roads, I run on the trails, I love to do ultra marathons up to 100 miles. And that's where I'm coming from. That's the experience that I'm bringing to the table with this review of the Garmin 55. Right from the beginning, as soon as you open up the watch and you start an activity, you can tell that it's trying to coach you along and trying to give you options and give you ideas of what to do. When you start an activity, almost all the time it gives you a suggested workout. And some of the workouts that I've explored in here are really good. They have good intervals. They have good pacing strategies based off of some of your previous runs. So it's a really good idea, especially if you're a newer runner, to kind of pay attention to these suggested workouts, maybe try a couple. And this can also help the seasoned runner who maybe just needs a little bit of spice added into their weekday runs. I prefer a smaller, lighter watch that I just don't notice as much on my wrist, but I am finding myself drawn more to these smaller watches that are just lighter and more comfortable, easier to sleep in, and this watch definitely succeeds in that area. So when you go to start a workout, there's a couple different apps, as Garmin calls them, but they're just kind of like running modes. You have just a regular run, you have a treadmill run, you've got a track run, you've got an indoor track run, and you also have a virtual run. And the first one that I'll talk about that is pretty cool is the track run, because that's new on the Garmin 55. Some of the more advanced watches have had this for a while, but the Garmin 55 just got this. And what this does is it takes a couple laps to kind of lock into the track that you're on, but once you do a few laps, it starts really zeroing in on where you are on that track. It gives you much better splits, and it also paints a nicer looking picture on the map when you upload it. As we can see here, it's giving me a suggested workout here. So 3 times 9 minutes at 7:05 minutes per mile, giving me a 53-minute run on the track. But most of us are not going to be on a track all the time. So in that situation, you just go into the regular run mode. There are a couple cool modes that you can get into once you start, and you just hit the up button to go into your options and then go into training. And it gives you options like workouts, intervals, pace pro plans, estimated finish time, and your training calendar. The two that I wanted to highlight here though that are awesome for new runners and seasoned runners alike are the pace pro plans and the estimated finish time. So it's pretty easy to do. You just select what distance you want to run today. So you can even go into custom, choose miles. Say you want to run 5 miles today. And then as you're running, it's actually going to update in real time with the estimated finish time that you're going to finish that distance in. The other one that's really cool is the Pace Pro plans. And in this situation, you want to open up the Garmin Connect app on your phone and go into training and then Pace Pro strategies. And you can see here, I've already started one, but it's pretty easy to do yourself. You can create a Pace Pro strategy. You can try even selecting a race distance, go into say half marathon, go in there, set your goal time. But what's even more powerful is if you actually have a course that you have preloaded, I can go in here and I can plug in a goal time of say we're at 3 hours and 45 minutes, but I need to hit a 9:07 pace, but then it also has the elevation profile plugged in. And so it knows all the times for all the splits that I need to hit in order to get that finish time on this 25-mile course. They also give you the option to include a positive or a negative pacing strategy, or some people call it a drift. And as I drag this slider to the left, you can see that it's showing that I'm going to be slowing down over the 25 miles, which is probably what is more realistic. And then as you scroll down to see your pacing splits, you're going to see that it's giving you a little bit of extra buffer towards those final miles. And then also you have the option to change the uphill effort as well. If you want to make it harder on the uphills or easier on the uphills, it's also going to take in that elevation profile into account and give you a different pacing strategy. Once you're done, you can send it to your watch and it shows up in your Pace Pro plans. There we go, Indiana Trail 1. And then it shows my 25 splits. It shows all the times I need to hit for them. If I go into start, use plan, and then start, it's going to tell me that this is my pace that I need to hit for this current mile that I'm on. And then as I go, it's going to give me instant feedback whether or not I'm ahead or behind my pacing strategy. This is all pretty amazing to have on a $200 watch. And that's why I'm talking about it so much in this video, because like I said, new runners and seasoned runners can definitely benefit from this. And I think there's a lot of people out there that don't even know that the Garmin 55 can do this. The other app I wanted to talk about on the Garmin 55 is the virtual run. What's going on right now is on my iPhone, I have Zwift open. The Garmin 55 is going to send all my data to Zwift in order to record it, which is pretty awesome. So now it's searching for the device. I can find the Garmin 55. I can do that. Heart rate, I want to grab it from the Garmin 55 as well. Cadence, I want to also grab from the Garmin 55. So now, picture we're on the treadmill, I'm wearing this watch. This is sending all of my data to Zwift. We're going to start the activity on the Garmin 55, and as soon as I start running, it's going to start my activity in Zwift as well. When I stop, I can save it to the watch, and it's actually now saved in 2 different places, which is awesome for backup. Along with all those running modes I just mentioned, there's also indoor bike, pool swim, yoga, elliptical, HIIT, high intensity interval training, stair stepper, Pilates, breath work. There's plenty that will be able to keep you active for a long time. Next up is 2 things that have come to the Garmin 55 that are new that the Garmin 45 did not have. And those things are glanceable widgets. So while the watch is on my wrist, I can just press this down button and it shows me all these different types of stats that I can look into, how many steps I took today, my different notifications, the weather, 34 degrees. Yeah, it's pretty cold. That's why I was on the treadmill today. The other cool thing that has been added to the 55 that the 45 did not have is custom data fields from the Connect IQ store. So in here we can see that I'm just in a regular run and I've added the stride data field to page 2 on this run activity. And we can see here that it's 0 watts because I'm just sitting here. As far as battery life goes, the Garmin 55 is no slouch. For the price point, it is rated at 2 weeks of standby time and 20 hours of GPS on during an activity, which is pretty crazy for this price point. Most people, if you're using this watch, even as your daily running watch, you're not gonna have to charge it more than once a week. And you could even get by doing like a 50 miler or possibly even a 100K with this watch. Heart rate accuracy was one thing that I was initially really concerned with, but I was honestly really surprised, and it was on par with pretty much any other watch that I have. It was on par with the Garmin Enduro, the Vertex 2, even polar watches, which are normally more accurate on the wrist-based sensors. I didn't have any problems. There were no massive spikes. There's always going to be some ups and downs with wrist-based heart rate. I think most of it has to do with the fit, where you're placing it on your wrist, and some people have better luck than others. But me personally, I didn't have any problems with it, and it was really accurate. GPS accuracy is another thing that I was initially concerned with getting a watch at this price point, but I am happy to report that I had no issues at all. In fact, it was again on par with the Garmin Enduro and my Cross Vertex 2 that I used while testing. Yes, I was one of those guys that was running around with 3 or 4 watches strapped to his wrist. All right, let's talk about some lows. This watch definitely doesn't come without some things that I wish were different, that I wish they would change. Some of them are software based, some of them are hardware that you're just not going to be able to get around. But again, remember, we're talking about a watch that's $200, so we have to compare it to other watches that are in this price range, and there's really not that many. So the first one that I did want to point out is the screen resolution and brightness, screen size. It's just really not that big. The size of what's readable is pretty small, so all your numbers are going to be just a little bit smaller than some other watches. The actual resolution of it is not great, so some of the numbers are a little bit jaggedy around the edges. Contrast is also not great. The second thing is the raise to wake light on gesture function. It does take a little bit longer than you want for the light to come on. The third and final low, or what's missing from this watch, is software based, and something that I think Garmin could add, but they're probably not going to because maybe they need to separate their watch lines a little bit, is that this watch does not have any sort of trail running mode on it. I just wish they would throw one more outdoor run mode on there, or app as Garmin calls it. in order to give you some variation in the different options that you choose for each. Other than that though, this watch really packs a ton for the price, and I think it's going to be a really great buy for a lot of you out there who are looking at maybe getting your first GPS watch, or those of us that have maybe one or two. Maybe you've got a big fat race watch that's like really heavy and it's got all the features, and you just want something nice and light that you can wear every day that's not going to bug you when you sleep. Maybe you have a smaller wrist. So what's the deal? Does this watch accomplish what it sets out to do, and is it worth it should you pick one up today? I think this watch is aimed specifically, like I said, at two different groups of people. The one being, this is your first GPS watch. Maybe you're just getting into running and you need a little bit of motivation. Maybe you've been running with your phone, but you want something a little bit more durable. This is going to be a watch that's going to be right for you. Also, there's another group of people, like those of us that might already have a big fat race watch that does everything we need it to do, but we want something a little bit smaller, a little bit more comfortable to wear during the week. And compared to other watches in the field, this is a really good deal for the price. It is just a little bit cheaper than its bigger brother, the Garmin 245. I am also going to be putting out a video on this watch, the 245, here in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. The other watch that is a serious competitor to the Garmin 55 is the Coros Pace 2, and again, that watch is on order. I'll have that soon and be putting out a video on my thoughts on that watch as well. So I do think that spending $200 on the Garmin 55 is a good investment to make. It's definitely worth the price. I like wearing this watch. I've been wearing it a ton recently. If you've been watching my Strava, you can see which watch I post to. There are a lot of runs though where I wear multiple watches, and whichever one gets to Strava first is whatever stays there usually. I do think that if you're looking for your first watch, or you're looking for a second watch to have as a backup replacement, or a more comfortable watch to wear during your weekday runs, this is going to be a great option for you. If you have the Garmin 55, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of it. Also, if you're interested in picking one of these up, but you have some other questions, definitely leave those questions in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.